In this short example, we'll take a look at recording foreign currency transactions. So doing business globally brings on some complications where the currencies that we're denominating transactions in may be different than the US dollar and on US financial statements. And in recording these transactions, we need to use the US dollar equivalent. So let me take you through a couple of these. I've put the entry right under the transaction so that we can see it right away. There's some inconsistencies here in some of the rates, but we're just going to use what we have and get the idea overall of how things are measured and then how the gains and losses on adjustments come into play. Right, so in the first one, you purchase power tools from a wholesaler in Japan. The invoice cost was 1,600,000 yen, so we can't use that to record it in our US financials or in our books. So we need to know what the exchange rate is at that date, which is 0.0072. Multiplying the 1,600,000 by 0.0072 gives us $11,520 for purchases and accounts payable. Right, and when we pay the bill, that amount very well may be different. So we'll see that a little bit later. In this one, we sold hand tools on credit to a retail outlet in West Germany. The invoice price here is $2,800. We've got an exchange rate given as $1.25 for the euro, but since we've got the dollar price here, we don't have to do anything else. We just use the $2,800 of receivables and sales. Same thing with the next one. The invoice price was $16,800, 800 US dollars. If this were, and whatever the New Zealand dollar is, if it was denominated in New Zealand dollars, then we would have to do an calculation, but since we're in US dollars, we don't. So just be careful with that. We purchased some drill bits here, the 801,282 euros. And here's the exchange rate that is applied in the problem. It is not a realistic rate, but we won't worry about that for the moment. So since we have the transaction denominated in euros, we do have to do the multiplication to get $25,000 for purchases and accounts payable. When we paid the yen on account to the wholesaler for the purchases we made earlier, there's a difference between the exchange rate, which was 0.0072 on the date that we committed and recorded the payable, and now it's 0.0067. So we actually made out by delaying payment by getting a situation, getting an agreement where we could pay on account. So the payable is going to be paid in full. We'll debit that for the full 7,200. We're only paying out 6,700, the million yen at 0.0067. So the difference is a transaction gain. If it had gone the other way, we would potentially have a transaction loss. We're going to see that in the next one. Right, we settle on April 18th, we settle our payable with the Belgian manufacturer, and that's this one up here. So the payable is 25,000, and that's going to go away. It'll be settled in full, so we debit that. When we look at the exchange rate, though, this time we're going to wind up paying $29,487. So we didn't do so well on that, which is the 0.0368 times the 801,282. So we have a transaction loss for the difference, 4,487. And that's pretty much how it goes from there. The cash and accounts receivable for the amount on April 22nd, we had denominated it in dollars, so we'll get the dollars regardless of what the exchange rate was. And then we completed the payment on the yen, and now this time the value had gone up. So we've got a translation loss. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick tour. This is just when we're doing business with companies that are out of the US. They're not our subsidiary. There's no other relationship. So hopefully you will find that helpful in doing the first couple exercises.